look, before you get mad and cancel us, just at least hear us out. These are guys we're moving off of. It's not personal. It doesn't mean we don't like them. These guys have great qualities. It's not them, it's us, right? And so it's a little bit of them.
About them.
It's a little bit of them. These are guys that we're moving off of right now during training camp or before the season. We don't suspect their value is going to go up. I think we have pretty good arguments for all of these guys. We could be wrong on a couple of them. You should let us know what you think in the comments, but drop a like before we start the video. And drop a like because, ladies and gentlemen, Nathan's going first.
Oh, look at that. Kenneth Walker's going to be first. You guys hear us talk about Kenneth Walker a lot, and I will say we were not that far off. We were pretty close this offseason. Not now, like not during the training camp time. It got to be too late at that point because he started climbing up boards again. But we got very close to a point where we were seeing him go in startups in like the 7th round, and we were like,
good.
Kenneth Walker isn't that bad of a value now, even though we're not super high on him and he's injury prone. And now, honestly, that's kind of changed for us. And it's not necessarily all his fault because he hasn't done anything, right? Since the end of the season and, getting injured for the 10 billion at the time, like he hasn't done anything from the end of last season to now because the season hasn't started. What we do care about is training camp news, and we do care about the news of other running backs and other assets that are ranked quite a bit lower than him, where you can down tier and get some plus on top. So let's start with this. Let's start with this. Before I even talk about Kenneth Walker specifically, if you can down tier from Kenneth Walker and get Quinshon Judkins plus, you need to run as fast as you can to your league mate and accept that deal or get that deal done if it's even possible. I don't care what the plus is on top. It could be a 3rd, it could be a 4th, it could be a 2nd, it could be a freaking 1st if your league mate is that low on Quinshon right now. You need to make that deal. When you're talking about value installation, you have Quinshon Judkins on the first year of his rookie deal. He hasn't signed his rookie deal. Dude, he's going to sign his rookie deal. If he doesn't sign it with the Browns, he's signing it with someone else. The Chiefs will happily take him. The Browns are signing Quinshon Judkins. They signed massage-happy Deshaun Watson to a fully guaranteed $260 million contract. They don't care. They need Judkins to be even remotely successful in the run game this year. They will sign him when he's back. The suspension stuff, again, this ended up being a Quinshon Judkins video. That's not the point. I just went on a rant on DFF like 2 days ago.
Well, let me just help you out here a little bit.
Yeah,
First of all, they're separated by like 7 spots in the running back rankings to keep trade cut. Kenneth Walker's 7 spots higher than Quinshon Judkins.
Which is multiple rounds.
But he's also ahead of Josh Jacobs, Caleb Johnson, Derrick Henry, James Cook even James Cook, I'm like, if he's this much lower than Kenneth Walker, sure, I'll take James Cook.
I would rather have James
I would too. RJ Harvey.
At least James Cook stays on the field.
Then Chuba Hubbard, Alvin Kamara. Like, what are we doing? He is way ahead of all of those guys. You can down tier from Kenneth Walker to every single one of those guys. It's an absolute no-brainer. Those guys are scoring as many points as Kenneth Walker, if not more. They're on the field more than Kenneth Walker. They have a better 3-year outlook than Kenneth Walker. What's the disconnect here?
I honestly don't know. I think some of it is just like the name value. Kenneth Walker has been so popular for so long. And when you use a comparison tool on flockfantasy.com/domain, use code domain on a points per game basis, Walker is on par with Chuba, James Cook, Josh Jacobs, all these guys. They're all the same. Or let me put it this way. They're on par with him on a points per game basis. So if you're like, even though he's been getting injured, I think he's going to get over it. And I think that he's going to be more consistent and be able to, maintain this production over an entire season. Okay, it's not any better than the other guys that we just mentioned. It's not. And he doesn't have any more insulation than these guys do. Here's a reason for why we don't think that he has this insulation. Number one, training camp news. Keep your head above the waves. Some news matters. Some news doesn't. Some things you react to when your league mates aren't. Some things you don't react to that your league mates are freaking out about.
Something wrong.
The news with Zach Charbonnet getting more opportunity, increased opportunity in training camp is 1,000,000,000% relevant. Like that is so relevant and matters so much to Kenneth Walker and his opportunity this season, especially when you look at the history with Kenneth Walker and what his problem is when he's actually playing. And it's that he can't play. He cannot stay healthy, guys. And I don't know why we can't get over this. It's been 3 years of this. It's been 3 years. And if you own Kenneth Walker and you're super high on him and you think that like he's going to get over this, I don't know what to tell you heading into year 4. He will not stay healthy when his volume and his snap share goes up. The best way to utilize Kenneth Walker is to give him less opportunities and less snap share. And that means giving Charbonnet more touches and more opportunities as well. Because when Charbonnet had a bell cow workload, when Walker was, lo and behold, injured last season, he was just as, if not more productive. Zach Charbonnet is a very good running back in his own right. We're too far removed from the draft capital at this point for it to really matter. And you just have to look at the actual production and efficiency and numbers and what role they play schematically. And they're honestly pretty even when you're looking at the production. I will fully admit that Kenneth Walker as a true athlete is better than Zach Charbonnet. All we want to talk about in Dynasty Fantasy Football is 3-year outlooks. Dynasty, the difference between Dynasty and Fantasy is that you play year over year. So insulation does matter for every position, even running backs, which are very volatile. A 24-year-old Kenneth Walker, how old is he? 24, 25 at this point? He was young coming into the league. He's 24 years old right now. A 24-year-old Kenneth Walker heading into the 4th year of his rookie deal is no more insulated than a 26, 27-year-old Josh Jacobs. I don't care about the age gap. People worry too much about predicting when fall-offs come for running backs, and they cared too little about the contractual obligation a franchise has to a player at the running back position who they have no obligation to pay. You are contractually obligated as the Green Bay Packers to pay Josh Jacobs for the next year at least, and probably 2. Walker has this year, and that is it. If Walker does not play well this year, it's not looking good for him. It's not looking good for him long term, because then he'll go somewhere else and probably sign a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal with an out after the first year because he has to prove that he can stay healthy. Walker is no more insulated than some of the most productive running back veterans that are old vets in Dynasty right now. Derrick Henry is more insulated than Kenneth Walker is right now. And you will literally lose your minds when you hear me say that. Derrick Henry is locked in for the next 2 years. Alvin Kamara is locked in for the next 2 years. There is no money saving happening for the Saints or the Ravens if they were to cut Alvin Kamara before 2027 or Derrick Henry. They are as safe as Kenneth Walker, and they stay healthy and they stay on the field. So enough said.
It is a good time now to get specific sells for your Dynasty Fantasy Football team. We can give them to you. Nathan and I do all these team blueprints ourselves. Personal advice for your Dynasty team, where we can tell you your 3-year outlook, your team archetype, and then what moves you should be making heading into the season to make sure you're set up for Dynasty Fantasy Football success. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain, annual motherflocker tier. You get 30% off everything on the site, but you also get a free team blueprint and everything we have, our trade calculator, our rankings, all of our Dynasty tools, our Discord, etc. So again, flockfantasy.com/domain. Code domain, annual motherflocker tier. I've got the link in the pinned comment. Come get a blueprint from Nathan and I. Next guy here. Let's talk about Trey Harris next. Let's talk about the Chargers' supposed wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 3, but really it doesn't matter. And I will point to you again the Greg Roman graphic, where Greg Roman typically does not have a wide receiver 1 and a running back 1 on the same offense. And you might say, well, that's actually a Ladd McConkey argument. Exactly. So if it is, and look, I like Ladd. I'm not telling you any. This is not a Ladd. This is actually not a Ladd take. I'm just saying we're being very bullish by saying Ladd can be a wide receiver 1 and Hampton can be a running back.
And I think it's merited to say that.
I think it is too. I think
it's very possible and maybe even likely that they can both do it.
It's not something that's happened, and we're betting against the great. Like again, This is us going against numbers. That happens sometimes.
That's as far as we're willing to bend.
But do you really want to get into the numbers for Greg Roman's wide receiver 2s and his running back 1s? I don't think you do.
Don't do it.
I don't think you do. Do you want to get into his wide receiver 3s? I don't think you do, because I don't think they would even show up on the stat sheet.
Don't do it.
Trey Harris, plenty talented, has good traits. He probably is going to have some big plays this year. So will QJ. I don't even know who the 2 is there, because QJ is the training camp hype guy. Trey Harris is a rookie, not to mention a slightly underdeveloped rookie, right? A rookie that, let's look at his bakery score, but nothing jumps off the page in terms of this guy coming in and dominating immediately in the NFL. He wasn't that great of a prospect. He's a little bit rough around the edges. He has a lot to improve on, and he goes to a situation where typically in that offense, the wide receiver 2 does not produce. We have him as the wide receiver 7 in the bakery out of Ole Miss, historically in that yellow tier, which again, nothing special there. He's in the same tier as Sky Moore. Woo! So with Trey Harris, it's less about him as a prospect and more about the fit offensively this year, and the fact that he's probably not going to produce at any relevant level. Rookie wide receivers do tend to hold their value better than almost any other position in Dynasty Fantasy Football. The exception to that is when you have a rookie wide receiver who people weren't necessarily sure about to begin with, and they may be a little bit raw, goes into a situation and does absolutely nothing. Then you'll see some production. I'm trying to think of a situation where we had a wide receiver go pretty high in the draft, fairly touted wide receiver, came in his rookie year, didn't do anything, and actually lost a ton of value, but I can't think of one. QJ, actually. That was QJ, actually. That exact thing happened already with this situation. And the guy we're talking about still on the Chargers. And so there is indeed evidence that he's probably going to lose a significant amount of value this year. Why hold him on your roster while he does that? Why let him drag down the overall value portfolio of your roster? Don't do it. Just get him off of your team before then. If you really do believe in Trey Harris, sure, go buy him after this year. And if he pops off, Nathan and I are idiots. What's new? But we're pretty confident in this one, guys. Like, this is one of the most, 99% sure. 99% sure that he's not going to do anything this year. I would bet the farm that he's going to lose value this year. And again, why have him on your team? Go trade him for a productive veteran. Go trade him for a rookie in that range that we actually feel better about. Because there are plenty of those guys you could trade him for. But Trey Harris, not a guy we're in on this year, and we think he loses value. Again, if you want to hold him, do it. But we think that he's probably going to lose some value after this year in Dynasty.
Okay, so there's been this, rumor that's been spreading. All across the domain community, it's starting to spread beyond the domain community as well that Nathan's a Matthew Golden guy. It was definitely started by him during a live stream. It's not my fault. I'm here to put the rumors to bed. Okay. I would lean that Matthew Golden is a sell, and here's a big reason for why. Matthew Golden is kind of your stereotypical first round raw prospect wide receiver who, by the way, is not in a elite analytical tier, even with first round draft capital, according to the bakery. And you're heading into a situation where they haven't been able to even figure out, Green Bay hasn't been able to figure out who their lead wide receiver is there, which again, you would say that does merit Matthew Golden honestly going in and being the wide receiver one. Long term, I agree with you. I think that Matthew Golden has the upside and the traits and the ability eventually to be that option. There's a couple of things here to note. Number one, Green Bay historically does not like drafting round one wide receivers. Number two, the lead wide receivers that end up emerging in that offense don't usually come until 2 or 3 years after their rookie season, or a year or two after their rookie season. They start breaking out their second year or their third year. One of the big reasons that Gutekunst doesn't like to draft first-round wide receivers is because as a GM, he's a big believer in drafting developmental prospects who can they can develop under the experience that's already established there in Green Bay. And for Matthew Golden heading into a wide receiver room that isn't great, maybe even not that good, but it's okay enough where they can get by. I'm not even mentioning Christian Watson. Jaden Reed, I think is still solid. I think Dontayvon Wicks showed some good flashes, not only his rookie season, but last year as well. Dobbs always has some good moments. And Jordan Love, on an efficiency standpoint, even though his numbers in total went down last year with the injury, his yards per attempt, adjusted yards per attempt, all that stuff were top 5. He was looking fine. This is just... It doesn't sit well with me when I'm hey, let's go take a shot on Matthew Golden this season and expect him to just exceed expectations and have a Lab McConkey level season. I mean, you look at the analytics, you look at the bakery. It's not good, the company that he's in, when you're talking about the total wide receiver ones that come out of the first round. Matthew Golden's not in a great tier. He didn't grade out well in the bakery. He was not that productive in college. He was a guy that was a big riser because of his 40 time, and everyone has been saying that he's kind of a raw trait sort of guy. Those guys generally don't do well their rookie season. I'm just telling you here. And another thing that I would say is the number of team blueprints that I do, specifically contending teams where they own Matthew Golden. As a contender, why would you want to even risk holding Matthew Golden and hoping that he's going to produce this year when you can go get George Kittle, you can go get Chris Olave, you can go get DK Metcalf, even DJ Moore, who we're not even that high on this season, but I would rather take a shot on DJ Moore than Matthew Golden this year. And again, this is another market play thing as well. If you think that down the road Matthew Golden could end up being the wide receiver one there, which I think is a totally relevant argument, why not wait? Why not wait and buy him low during the season when he's probably not doing that much to start the season? And you honestly are probably going to be really excited if he's even showing a lot of really solid consistency the second half of the year. I mean, the reason all those wide receivers took a significant step down in Green Bay this past year is because of how effective Josh Jacobs was, not just as a true runner, but because of the opportunity and volume that he was commanding in the red zone, where like literally no one else in the offense could score touchdowns. Kraft actually got a decent amount of red zone opportunity too. That's where most of his production came from as well. So between the tight ends and between Josh Jacobs, like there goes the red zone opportunity. And then, yeah, truly the crowded wide receiver room that does have more experience than Golden. Like I don't think that Golden is just going to come out guns a-blazing. You're going to get him probably for a better price later on.
All right. This one's going to hurt your feelings. I totally understand why. This hurts my feelings a little bit. This isn't my guy. This is one of my favorite players in the NFL. But at the end of the day, I have to play Dynasty with my head and not my heart. And my head tells me, what if Ceejay Stroud comes out and he does what he did his rookie year, his outstanding rookie year, his historic rookie year where he was the quarterback 11 in fantasy football leagues, quarterback 11. What if, for example, Ceejay Stroud comes out and he's, the quarterback 4 next year? What if Ceejay Stroud, his best season being 281 points per game, what if he increases that by 100 points next year and he has 381 total points in fantasy football? What if Ceejay Stroud throws the ball more than he ever has, 570 times his career? What if Ceejay Stroud comes out next year? He's thrown for 43 total touchdowns in his NFL career. What if next year Ceejay Stroud comes out and throws 41 touchdowns? Sounds a little bit far-fetched, doesn't it? Well, it's possible, I think. Ceejay Stroud's a great quarterback, and I think that, he's got a ton of potential in the NFL. But what if he does that? Where do you think he would be valued in Dynasty? I can tell you where he'd be valued in Dynasty. Because I can tell you where Baker Mayfield is valued in Dynasty. Baker Mayfield last year was the quarterback 4 in PPR leagues, 381 points, 570 attempts, 400 completions, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 378 yards rushing on the ground last year. And he's going in the mid-4th. I say all of this to get to this point right here. Ceejay Stroud is not going to beat you with his legs, 167 and 233 rushing yards in the first 2 years of his career. And what we have seen now pretty consistently in Dynasty Fantasy Football for the last, year or two is unless you are beating somebody in your fantasy football leagues with your legs, you have rushing upside, you're probably, unless you're Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's the one exception always to this rule. You have to be a rushing quarterback or Joe Burrow. Ceejay Stroud's not making it back to the first round, guys. It's not happening. And he's going again in the second or third round. 2-3 turn is about where we're seeing him. What does he have to do to go up in value? What does he realistically have to do? I think he would have to be a top 5 quarterback, like I said. And even then, is there any guarantee he goes up in value? I would say there's not, because we have guys performing at a top 5 quarterback level that aren't even close to this. What if he does what Brock Purdy does? He's got the insulation. He's got the production. Purdy was the quarterback 6 last year. Points per game last year, he was almost a quarterback 1. Where's Purdy going? Below Stroud. Okay? I can't think of another example with the way that the quarterback market is shifting in Dynasty where somebody like Ceejay Stroud, a pocket passing quarterback, beautiful pass, the beautiful ball. I love Ceejay Stroud. I love how he plays. I love watching him. He's one of my favorite players. He was my guy. He was one of my biggest hits from a take standpoint. But realistically, how likely is it that Ceejay Stroud goes up in value this year?
Low.
I think it's extremely low. And it doesn't mean that Ceejay Stroud's not somebody you should hold. Maybe you should hold him. I think there's a good case to hold Ceejay Stroud this year. But it's not like you're selling Ceejay Stroud low, right? You would kind of be selling Ceejay Stroud before his value settles in the 4th round for the next 3 years. And there's still a ton of value to rostering a player like that. But I say this because he's still going around the 2nd round. And the guys he's going around, from a quarterback standpoint, you can down tier to Caleb Williams, who is more dynamic than Ceejay Stroud. It would have to be a down tier, though, probably a pivot. Down tier to Jordan Love, who, from production standpoint in fantasy football, how are these guys too dissimilar? I don't think that they are. Love has already been a quarterback 1 as well, quarterback 5 last year for Green Bay. And injured most of last year, for what it's worth. You can keep going down, and you can keep finding guys. J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy has a ton of upside. Now, he's not as good as Ceejay Stroud, in my opinion. But in terms of how they score their points, what's the huge difference there? Baker, again, he's the quarterback 4. You can get production and get a flex spot on top. The number 1 overall pick this year, Cam Ward's down the list. Trevor Lawrence, who's been a quarterback 1, is down the list. You can keep going. I don't really like the guys in the next range, so I'm just going to stop there. But the fact of the matter is, I just don't think it's all that likely that Ceejay Stroud actually increases his value this year. And I don't think he's going to give you enough production where it's you should definitely just hold him through this. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 QB. I don't think he's going to be a top 8 QB. I think he could be a low-end QB1. I think that's best case scenario, though. And I love CJ Stroud. But, man, I could down tier to – actually, let's keep going a little bit. Let's talk about Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. I mean, I would probably say if I had – how are these guys going to finish this year? I would put Goff and Dak in the same tier as CJ Stroud from a scoring standpoint this year. I think almost anybody would. That's pretty much – well, can I see the redraft ADP? Can you look that up for me? I'm pretty sure their projections are about the same this year. If not, you have some of those guys going higher. My guess is I'm pretty sure from an ADP standpoint, they're all going in about the same range, right? Goff,
yes, Dak,
and then so Stroud is last out of those guys. Yet in Dynasty, Goff and Dak go 50 picks behind Stroud. 50 picks. He's going as the QB 17 in redraft leagues. So if that's how we think he's going to perform this year from a fantasy football perspective, if he's the QB 17 this year, or even the QB 13, what do you think his value does? It's not going up, guys. It's not going to. It's just a matter of, it's not necessarily CJ Stroud's fault. He's a great player. The market's changing for QBs. We've identified it this offseason. He will be another product of that. He's still going in the second round in some drafts. I would just go ahead and down tier from him while you still have the chance.
Okay. Crazy discovery that I had today. Crazy discovery while I was doing this. I will say, admittedly, I was reluctant to put Terry McLaurin on this list, mainly because of the contractual stuff. Now I have no shame doing it whatsoever. And again, this is going to be a little bit time sensitive in that, like, hey, you might not want to, when this video comes out, to sell Terry right now before he gets his contract figured out. Because, at the end of the day, I think they are going to get something figured out with the front office, him and Terry and his agent, whether it's, Terry caving or the front office does, whatever. Like, I think he's going to play, and I think it's all going to be fine there. I just want to look at the pure production and the pure efficiency metrics with Terry McLaurin and what he really was able to accomplish last year. Because with the opportunity that he got and the ultimate production that he ended up having, it was wildly unprecedented that he actually finished as a high-end wide receiver 2 on a points per game basis. Let me just start with this. Very simple metric. Touchdowns his entire career dating back to 2019. 7.4554, and in 2024, 13 touchdowns. He had the least amount of targets in 2024 that he has ever had since 2019, his rookie season. So you're like, okay, I mean, that's actually a pretty good sign for Terry, because now that he's established all this chemistry and experience with Jaden Daniels, isn't he going to get better? Well, I mean, let's look at this a little bit more, guys. When you look at the player comparison tool over on the site and his production last season, and you compare him to a guy that I just did some research on for DFF, Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton had a higher target volume on a per game basis, a higher target share on a per game basis, and more routes run on a per game basis. And on the total season, he had 14.1 points per game, and Terry McLaurin had 15.8 points per game. Now, the one thing that you want to look at here is you're like, oh, that's almost a 2 point per game gap. So, of course, there's a huge price gap in Dynasty. We need to be looking at that 11-week stretch at the end of the season when Bo Nix started actually playing real football and Courtland Sutton started reaping the benefits. Because when you're looking at those offensive structures for Washington versus Denver, I mean, situationally heading into this season, they're both looking pretty similar offensively, right? You've got a lackluster receiving room with like Terry McLaurin and then not much else. Maybe you could say Debo if you're really high on him and what he could offer this year for Daniels in that offense. And then you're looking at Bo Nix having Courtland Sutton and Evan Ingram, right? It's nothing really super pretty that I'd be ultra excited about. Now you look at Sutton's production in that time frame from weeks 8 to 18. He had 18 points per game, and Terry had 16.5. Everything flips. He's more efficient. He's even better than Terry was last season. Number one argument I'll make for you guys right now. Regardless of what you think Terry McLaurin could accomplish next season, if you really think he's going to be able to maintain that touchdown increase, which was like more than double of what he usually does on a per year base on a per season basis, why is Courtland Sutton going multiple rounds after Terry McLaurin right now? And this is, I did this and I was talking about this before Courtland Sutton got his 4-year, $90 million extension. This is not even about the money for me. I mean, they're kind of the same age, same sort of situation. I think their floor could be a little bit lower than a lot of the guys that are going well above them in Dynasty for good reason. But for these two players specifically, why are they going that far apart? When you're talking down tiers, your production upside is the same with Courtland Sutton if you go invest in him. and you're getting him at a fraction of the price, and that's a fact. Terry McLaurin, when it comes to what he was able to do on a per route basis, yards per route run, he was 29th among wide receivers. His target share was 34th among wide receivers, target rate 44th. So like the amount of times that he was on the field, how many times was he getting the ball? It was not that often. Guys, everything about Terry McLaurin's profile screams regression. It absolutely screams it, because even on a per reception basis, you're not seeing per reception numbers nearly as like astronomical as Nico Collins the year before he went bananas in 2024 before the injury. Like it's pretty normal. It's like 13 yards per reception, which is around what some receivers with Terry's skill set get. That's probably going to stay about the same. He will literally have to either get that yards per reception up, increase his target volume, or increase his touchdowns. And looking at a 6-year sample size of what Terry McLaurin has done from a target volume perspective on a year-to-year basis, it's never gone up. It has stayed about the same. Like, we kind of always joked about same old Terry.
Yeah.
It actually, I mean, last year, even though he had a coming out party technically with Jaden Daniels,
he had a touchdown coming out party. That's pretty much it.
It was same old Terry.
It was same old Terry.
It was same old Terry.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, for the Cortland Sutton stuff alone, Devontae Adams, even Chris Godwin, who's injured right now in training camp, there are a lot of veteran wide receivers there, veteran running backs. You get Kamara plus right now if you down tier from Terry McLaurin. Again, in Dynasty, you're talking about a flex option in Terry. I'm more comfortable with every single one of those assets instead of him heading into the season. I think he is one of my biggest regression candidates heading into 2025.
So, again, we're not telling you have to sell these guys. These are guys Nathan and I are selling. These are guys on your team blueprints we might give you as sells. But I think there are pretty good cases. I think we did make pretty good cases. And if you're angry, that's okay. We still love you. Make sure you drop a like on the stream and make sure you're subscribed. We've done sales videos for 3 years now, so we're always ready for the backlash. It actually, at this point, it warms our hearts. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Come join the community before it really, really picks up. Come get a team blueprint. You get one for free at the annual Mother Flocker tier. Again, links in the pinned comment to get that. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.